USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome. Welcome to Universal Pathway, a show brought to viewers worldwide right here on Saturday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Millennium News 24. Viewers can download the Millennium TV News app on your iPhone at the App Store and Google Play Store. For all Android devices, you can also watch us live on Roku, Apple TV, LG, Smart TV, Sony Smart TV and Blu-ray, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV, Horizon Satellite Beyond Boundaries, and go to our website at www.millenniumtv24.com. Today, I have with me in the studio Mr. Charles Jarvis, who's here today to share with us and our viewers his perspective on life, as he had much experience after being among various schools of thoughts. He's been influenced by Hinduism, Islam, as well as Christianity at different points in his life, and speak to just a upbringing from the country of Guyana. So I just want to be able to once again say welcome, and please, Mr. Jarvis, why don't you introduce yourself and give a brief aspect of your background to our viewing audience?
My name is Charles Jarvis. I was born in Guyana. I grew up with grandparents. Christian conscience in my early stages of life, but I had a grandparent who never really liked the word God. I said, well, what is this God that they're talking about? And he had explained it's the Creator. God that they're talking about, they do not understand the might of God. They should say it in the word of Almighty, the Creator, the one that caused everything to be. I believed it, but I did not understand it. And when I came to the United States, after I have been part of the culture of Muslim, the culture of understanding the Hindus, I came to the United States and I wanted to explore what is this word or this thought of the Almighty, the Creator. So I was turning the channel, using the channel to get some kind of understanding. And with that, the various churches and the various talk of God did not satisfy me. Then there was one speaker, as I turned the channel, Raymond Charles Barker from Religious Science. When he was closing his lecture at Alice Tully Hall, he said, only through your mind you can communicate effectively with the Creator. Oh, I was impressed. I contacted the school and I went to the lectures on Tuesday. At this time, I was an orderly and I had to give up my weekend to attend this Tuesday period from 6 to 9. My supervisor said, you're going to give your weekend up? I said, yes. Why? Because I want to know, I want to learn, I want to understand something about life. So I gave up for 4 years. I attended this school. And what I learned from religious science, that all religions are important. All religions belong to the Creator, the created. It depends on how they function, because there's the word they call love. The basic, all religions represent love. But the individuals who represent the religion, do they really practice that? That's the key to life. I asked the question, do they really understand what love is? So From religious science, I learned the word love. The ability to appreciate. The ability to appreciate. Because I may not agree with everything, but I have to respect. Because in the word love, there is a supporting factor, respect. Without respect, love is ineffective. So if I respect persons, things, animate and inanimate, then I can put myself in a position to utilize love, to appreciate, to understand. I may not agree, but I appreciate the individual because the God in me or the Spirit in me or the Almighty and the Creator in me is also in the individual. And because of that, that's where my respect is being displayed at all times. In my walk, in my talk, in my behavior as a nurse, in my playing in any way whatsoever. Things are not the way it's supposed to be at times, but because of that love, respect, and understanding, I allow myself to always remember the creator in me is the creator in others. This gives me that potential to feel committed of being awake, to represent, because I did not wake myself. It is something that woke me up. And from learning about it, it's the creator, the energy, this fullness of life, this greatness of life. The Bible says, if you go to the sky, he's there. If you go to the bottom of the sea, he's there. If you go to the width of the earth, he's there. Well, from my understanding, it couldn't be a he or a she. It's the love of the creator, the energy of life. I say this to a friend, and they are very much dissatisfied with my term when I said the creator, or God as you may call it, is not a man or a woman. It's an energy of love, understanding, purpose, usefulness, possibility, excellence, wisdom, knowledge. And it's within all source of life. But here's the point. Could we appreciate that? It is the source of life that represents all things. And if it represents all things, I'm returning to the word, respect. And once the respect is being motivated in my action, then I am in a position to make this usefulness of life, this excellence of life, this wonder of life that caused me to be awake today. Here's the key. Tomorrow is not promised. And since tomorrow is not promised, I have to be an ambassador. I have to be a representation of this wonder, this glory, this majesty that caused me to be awake. So I represent myself, knowing that I must do my utmost today. And because of that, that's the way I define universal understanding and life and its process.
Well, thank you. You really expound upon that question yourself and your background. You actually went into some of the things that, I was hoping to speak to. You mentioned love. You also mentioned just the creator. Your grandfather introduces to the word of the creator, the Almighty. Mr. Barker then connected the whole aspect with the universal mind. Speaking to that, then you came into this appreciation for the word love. You mentioned that love is connected with respect. A lot of people today in life, they look at love, for instance, right, as an emotion. There's a terminology. Ones would say, I'm in love with you. And we see relationships come and relationships go. And as a result, sometimes people disagree with each other. They no longer speak with each other, surrounded this very subject matter of love. Are you saying that love is not just this emotion that people think it is? And you're going deeper. You mentioned the word appreciation. You mentioned respect. Can you expound upon that for those people who might, for whatever reason, they've been hurt, whether it be by a belief system, they've been hurt by different aspects of life. From a universal perspective, the various different pathway. What can you say to our viewers to help them along those lines in regards to the subject matter of the word love on a practical basis?
Let me return to the purpose that I'm awake. I'm repeating myself. I did not wake myself. It is the cause of life that caused me to be awake. And that purpose of life, that usefulness for life, is within each and every person and things as it is. And because of that, in relationship, if we can appreciate the spirit of life in everything, then we would demonstrate a behavior, not at all times accepting the circumstances, but at least understanding the circumstances. And from that understand, that's where the respect is being displayed. So even though I don't agree, I respect the situation, circumstances to be as it may be.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So with respect being a factor and people interact with each other, we see in some school of thought, the word forgiveness is placed there because as we interact by human beings, we might have misunderstanding. So with this universal spirit, the energy that animates us, that woke us up today, how are we using that energy and that thought process from a wise perspective to make the planet a better place as we interact with each other? Because one might say great from a philosophical standpoint, everything you said sound great, but we're seeing different things play out on the world stage. And on a practical basis, you have a mother and you have a father that's supposed to be in the household. Some households do not have that. So how do we now, as ones who are looking and want to hear about the various different pathways to this universal understanding, how can they now in their situation hold to some hope that they cannot interact more beneficial with each other?
The Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And from whatever area, I had an interest. And fortunately, I had people around me who were very much concerned of the way I think. Unfortunately, that is not so in many areas. However, for you to function in the way of respect, maintaining love, and understanding of well-being in the job, in the play, in whatever capacity, in whatever area of life, you must develop an understanding that the same individual or things has the spirit of the Creator. Let me use the word God, which most people, a lot of people are accustomed to. The same God lives in all. And if the Spirit of God lives in all, and I have the Spirit of God within me, why should I disrespect you or disagree with you at a point where there becomes unnecessary problem? They should not be. We should be able to agree, disagree, to agree. And to agree is to say, okay, I hear you loud and clear. So you do what you have to do, and I have to do what I have to do. And if I see you tomorrow, I would say hello. If I see you tomorrow or the next hour or the next day, I would say hello. Why? The spirit, my understanding, the spirit of the Creator is within you. And because of that, I must maintain that. Because of this, I am wonderful. I am useful. I am purposeful. I am here to represent. The Creator has caused me to represent the function of life in its majesty and excellence. That's the way I see it.
So to be a representative for any type of government, we normally call those individual an ambassador. So in hearing your viewpoint, we carry a universal aspect to this energy, God, whatever name our viewers call the very energy, because sometimes we come from various different perspectives, yet we're speaking about the same essence, we're speaking about the same spirit, the same being that animates us. The word Human describe the word being. Many times we focus on the human part, but we don't focus on the being. So you're speaking about character. You're speaking about our behavior, how we interact with each other, because you mentioned the word respect. So with that being said, sometimes we're given jobs in our everyday life. And one's job focus, I'm just doing my job. Many times I hear people say, I'm just doing my job. They don't have the best behavior. They don't have the best interaction in how they carry out the job. For instance, sometimes I go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and to go to the DMV, the interaction is not the best. You know what I mean? A lot of the government agencies, at times you go there, the interaction is not the best because someone is there just doing the job, right? So what would you say to those individuals who think it's just a job and they're interacting? Is there an accountability that goes along with that? Because if there's not enforcement to certain things, people could think it's just like Burger King, have it your way.
Okay. It's unfortunate that we have to experience this happening, but it's all part of life. It's all part of life. And where people are, it's unfortunate they do not have a development. I'm returning to the Bible board. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Learning. There is in the school, it should be a process of learning. And once we maintain that ability or that tendency to learn, it would give us an advantage. Learn. It would give us that advantage that we can exercise an appreciation for others. And if we can exercise that appreciation for others, then we would be able to see ourselves not perfect. Because do I make mistakes? Absolutely. How would I learn if I do not make some mistake or another? But I tell you, because I draw the understanding of respect, it brings me back to a place. You spoke of forgiveness. Well, I have done a lot of things that are not acceptable. And to myself, my consciousness, my spirit, my understanding, my well-being is saying, I don't feel good about it. And I think in the course of time, this is where the Master Jesus came. And Jesus said his purpose was to teach us forgiveness.
Beautiful. Pause with that thought pertaining to Jesus and forgiveness. Jesus, known to some as Isa, known to some as Yahshua. We're going to pause right there and go to a break. We'll be right back after this brief break.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
Welcome back to Universal Pathways. I'm your host, Curtis Douglas Ill, and today I'm with our guest, Brother Charles Jarvis. And prior to the break, he touched on this whole aspect of just, schools and just the need now to be able to have school to teach that we are learning. And he mentioned our brother Jesus. We know that Jesus, in some school of thought in the Muslim world, Jesus is known as Isa. Among the Jewish, the Hebrew world, Jesus is referred to as Yahshua. So with that being said, it is also in the Moore school of thought that Jesus is actually, the one who came and demonstrate love. And we studied the 18 missing years of Jesus. So with that being said, I really want to touch on that because we see that an example, ones need to demonstrate examples. So it's one thing to be able to now grow and learn in life, but the ability now to point people, whether it be to a school, to help to mold and shape their mind, their behavior. You mentioned mind before by way of religious science. When you heard what you heard on the radio, you were based on your grandfather letting you know about the creator. Now you want to know certain more. You switch the station, but they heard about this Mr. Barker, and you give a certain portion of your life to learn in religious science. So with that being said, are there certain school of thoughts that you would actually recommend for ones who are now searching similar to yourself? And why would you now point to those school of thoughts?
Let me answer that question this year. We concerned about the people of my country, which is America, the people of the world. I'm concerned with the people of America. I pray for America, and then I pray for the world. I pray for the leaders of America, and I pray for the world. And I pray for America, and I pray for the world, the leaders of the world, because I want them to project their behavior in a way whereby there is a presence. They have a duty, they have a responsibility to first the Creator, then to all other source of life. Their responsibility is first to the Creator. That's how they are awake. If they can only understand their ability is first to the Creator, there's something, and they know this. They're brilliant people in this country and in the world today. If they can only understand their responsibility is first to the Creator and then to the world. Mm-hmm. And there is then we can have an exercise of misunderstanding, understanding. We can able to make adjustment. Take for sports. I appreciate the world soccer competition. I appreciate that competition where the world comes together and they support the cause of integration. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And this is the area. For I said before, all religions are important. It's like the number of 10. How do we get to the number of 10? 9 and 1, 8 and 2, 5 and 5, 7 and 3, 10 ones. We all get to the number of 10. So all religions are important. But then the religion has to be responsible to get to the 10. And what is the 10? The understanding of the Creator, which all are one. So if they can function in this respect, do not judge me from how I get to the 10. I'm going to get to the 10. Just be concerned and support my cause of getting to the 10. So all religions, I'm repeating myself, they practice or they teach love. Let's see the demonstration of love, which is being supported by respect. If this is being done or allowed to be done, we would have a better experience of life. We would be able to bring the weaker ones closer to a better understanding. Our schools are important. Our schools are so important relative to our teaching of our children. I asked the question, what behavior we are going to demonstrate to help our children to learn of life itself? I think we need more philosophy in the schools. We need more literature of understanding the human element between God and man. I don't care how you put it, but it's between God and man. Respect. It has to be taught to the children of our generation that they can promote, produce, and proclaim more responsibility as we live in this world we have. We are the ones to set the pace. Failing to do this, like the world, we are committing a sin. And we're too intelligent to commit a sin. We must allow ourselves to rethink. And because of this, we would have a better experience as life move on.
Can you elaborate on that point you mentioned just now? You said we're committing a sin. Many school of thought, they look at the word sin in different ways.
Okay.
So just hold that thought. They look at the word sin in different ways. And sometimes just even mentioning the word sin, some people close down. So coming back to the whole idea of school, if I'm in school and I'm a student in that school and I have a teacher and I'm learning, the sin in that instant would be you did not make the mark. You did not understand something. You're not making the grade. Or it could even be the fact that the individual is interfering with their own learning process by not paying attention, and also might be interacting with others and impeding them who truly want to learn from the teacher. So just kind of speak to that when you mention sin, just to make sure that our viewers understand what you mean when you say that word.
Well, sin is not a bad word. It's just deviating from an expected process of coordination.
Well said.
It's not a bad word. Because who is perfect? No one's perfect. Only the Creator is perfect. And we're going to make errors. And the errors is considered a sinful act. Not to be punishable in any way, but to be redirected in ways that can benefit the individual. It's not a bad word. It's just a deviation from the norm or the expected or an improved way of acting verbally, physically, spiritually. That's the way I see the word sin.
Well said. And I like you to really expound upon it. And again, from the perspective of a school, many look at life as being a school of thoughts, school of perspective. So if one make a mistake, just like learning to draw or you mentioned playing a sport, one make mistakes along the way. But the goal is not to stay there. We have to learn from our mistakes and improve. So the issue is, did you learn the lesson? In the interaction, does one learn the lesson? So I love the fact that when you mentioned a sport as universal as soccer, World Cup soccer, but then you also spoke locally as to what we need to be here in America as a national government, because we now interact as an internationally among nations, with other nations. And America is one of those nations that the world watch and the world follow. And beautiful message towards our national government as well, as far as those who might be in the White House, and also speaking to the global community as well. But can you speak briefly to our local individuals as well, as it pertains to what are some of the local, whether it be politicians or school of thought, need to be? Because everything big starts from something small. What are those small things that you would say that you've now learned over time? You've worked as a nurse. You've also worked as a police officer. So you have to work in that local aspect, but it's connected to something bigger. What are those small things that people could do on a practical basis that really makes them better, where they're not making those mistakes?
I share something to you at this point. I remember a policeman from New York City. They called him a rookie, but he was a rookie. This is what I read about it. He was in the wintertime, saw a homeless individual. And this homeless individual, it was snowing and had no footwear. And this rookie, this individual, this rookie, the policeman, for some reason, it came from his upbringing. And he went on his own and bought a boots. And he offered it to this individual and bought a lunch for him. The individual accepted. The next, I think 2 or 3 days, he was back on the beat, and the individual was without the boots. And from what I learned, it grieved the policeman. It grieved him. So what it is, Not everyone respond to kindness or to learning. Not everyone, because of circumstances. Because of circumstances. So I share the grief of that policeman, like I share the grief of many people who you will try to help mentally, physically, spiritually, and they don't, for one reason or another, adhere to the act of support in any way whatsoever. And so I asked myself, I return to the Christian word. We must pray for each other, irrespective of the circumstances. And we must hope and live in an understanding that in some way or another, we must still think and act with a hopefulness for others who are less fortunate.
Well, beautiful point. In hearing what you just said just now, I see involved, even with the police officer doing such a great deed and feeling that grief within himself. The truth of the matter is we can't predict what other people, how they will respond to us, right?
Correct.
But there's a certain standard when you really have that wisdom coming from that universal creator that you mentioned, that one's called God. When we're on this pathway, unity means one verse, one speech, one way of being, but not everyone is going to be able to receive what it is that we have to offer. So hopefully at some point in their future, they could be ready to receive. But I also feel the word intent become a protective aspect. You know, it says, guard your heart. It is the wellspring of life, right? So you go out there, it's raining, we carry an umbrella. So as we interact with human beings, and like you said, the human flesh aspect of us is not perfect. So ones make these mistakes that some of the religion calls sin. How would you say our intention should play a part in our day-to-day interaction? Can you elaborate on that? The word intent and how we should interact from a universal standpoint.
Well, the word intent is basic on the understanding of what we represent. A lot of people would do something for you if you would do something for them. That's an interior false. Look, if you would do something for me, it's because it's a need. It's a need. But do not expect that you will do something for me, I would be able to return the favor. Maybe I'm not in a position to return the favor. So as the policeman I mentioned, he knew that this individual was in the snow without any footwear, and he bought that boots. His intent was to help from his upbringing in some way or another. But the individual, for some reason or another, could not appreciate. So even though we have intent, we must base our intent on a love aspect, not for what we can get in return, not for what we can get in return. And if our intent is to use ourselves because of the opportunity to understand life or to be in a position to help, that's the majesty and the excellence of love.
Well said. Well said. Just to kind of, connect with what you just said, because I asked the question before about the person working at the DMV or some of these different governmental type jobs. You mentioned the police officer doing what he did, and the individual did not respond in a favorable manner. He came back, there's no shoes. So he did a good deed. He did a good act. So do we do the good act to now get a reward from that momentum perspective, or is it your nature? Animals, literally, they behave according to their nature. But as human beings, what is our nature? What is the divine intent? And what was the will of why we have this body in the first place? Jesus demonstrated and he showed this love. The savior of the world is love. We say love is respect. Now, as we approach each other, the mentality of the individual might not be at your level. But that's where hope comes in. We hope that one day they can now receive and get to a level where they can appreciate what was done for them. So with that being said, you have ones now who literally would say, hey, that sounds great, but where I'm living right now, those conditions would not make sense, because it comes back to that local situation. There's Section 8 homes out there. How do you get people who live in those demonstrations to raise to a higher vibration like you're speaking to see the possibilities of man, that they can live a better life, not just from the motivation of the spiritual aspect as well, having better behavior, but literally having a cause and effect type relationship where they shift their paradigm, they shift the way they think to now have better outcomes in their lives. Can you speak to that somehow? In other words, the individual in the project who say, I'm a single mother, what you're saying sounds great, but I cannot get off of this government type assistant to now have a mindset that my situation can change from a universal standpoint.
Well, I tell you, most of those people, I tell you, I deal with some of them. They attend churches. They attend churches. There's a lot of church around. What is the question? Do these churches follow the principle of love? These churches can do much more to assist people in their thinking as opposed to what the people can give. Mm-hmm. I've been in that experience. These churches or bodies of social gathering can do much more to help these people in their way of thinking. I'm sure some of the churches don't even look to understand clearly, well, what is going on in your world that I can assist you in the assets. You know how many churches are much financially fit, financially progressive? Do they look to their constituents or the people of their church to see their need in some way or another? Even if you discuss it, I don't think they do that. And I think the churches in themselves or the social organization could do much more to assist their members.
Well said, which brings us to a point, which before we go to this break, I just really want to make the connection. We thought about schools, that love needs to be taught in these schools. And he said all religion actually come from the same source. So he didn't point to one specific religion. He pointed to whatever makes sense for you, because it's the universal pathway. But also we're seeing the connection now to government, where he's now speaking to local government, national government, international government, where the representative need to be of such quality where the people benefit. Like he said in the Constitution, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union. So we want to make sure that we hold accountable the ones who teach, but also as students to the ones who teach, we can receive what they offer. So with that being said, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll come back and we'll expound upon some of these questions.
Welcome to Millennium News 24, your trusted source for accurate, unbiased news. We're here to bring you the stories that matter most from America and around the world, with integrity and a commitment to truth. In today's world, where misinformation can easily spread, having access to reliable news is more important than ever. At Millennium News 24, we aim to cut through the noise by delivering clear, fact-based reporting. Whether you're following major events or looking for in-depth analysis, we are here to serve you with transparency and respect for all communities regardless of color, wealth, or religion. This beautiful America was built by the resilience of its people, immigrants, entrepreneurs, doctors, and everyday individuals working together to create something great. It's this spirit that inspires us to provide you with news that's inclusive, honest, and relevant. We believe that informed citizens are the foundation of a strong society, and we strive to give you the knowledge you need to make a difference. From breaking news to insightful features, we bring you comprehensive coverage on politics, economics, health, culture, and much more. We believe that everyone deserves access to the truth, and we are proud to be a part of a global network that connects people through information. Stay informed by following us on your devices, including iOS, Android, Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, and Smart TVS. And for global access, we're also available on Horizon Satellite. Visit us at www.millenniumtv24.com or www.millenniumnews24.com to stay updated at Millennium News 24. Our mission is to promote unity, understanding, and progress in a rapidly changing world. Join us as we work to inspire positive action through the power of truth. Thank you for watching. Follow us, subscribe, and stay informed.
Welcome back to Universal Pathways. I'm your host, Curtis Douglas Ill, and I'm with our guest, Mr. Charles Jarvis. And prior to the break, we touched on some things, literally speaking about even just speaking to our local government, speaking to our national government, and speaking internationally to the world as well. Giving some practicals as well as to how we could interact with each other on a better basis. But even with all that being said, something actually comes to mind where someone might be thinking, all that sounds great, but in everyday life, I have a job, I have to pay the bills, things are hard. I don't really have time to now think about a creator because I got to go out there, and if I don't do certain things, the bills are not going to get paid. And as real as that sound, because we came into a world that we just feel as if we just start running. We're on a treadmill. Day one, you're on a treadmill. You came into an environment where you see your mother and father outside of the home working constantly. Like I said, with the Section 8, maybe it's just the mother by herself, and she have to be in that government established housing for now. So the man might not be in the house. Who knows? Maybe a child, his father is in jail. So there's a lot of dysfunctionality, and sometimes the dysfunctionality becomes a reason in our mind as to why certain things we can't do right now. And one of the things that's very important, we forget about who actually allowed us to get out of bed. Like you said earlier, that energy, the spirit of God, whatever it is from your point of view that you call the very force of life that animates us. Because we know that the body itself is just that. But something allows me to move my arm, something allows me to move my lips, something is allowing me to communicate to you, our listening audience. So with that, my brother, can you speak to that as well? A lot of time people get bogged down and they really don't have time to prioritize, to put first the very spirit that gets them out of bed. What's your draw on that?
Okay. The child is born. The mother is under stress, even though the father may be there. The programs that we should have is to help mothers and fathers or family to learn of something of life, to learn of something of them, of themselves, that you're not here on your own. You're not on your own. For example, the fetus, the sperm and the egg is not more or less caused by the parent. It's caused by something else. This has to be taught. The sperm and the egg fertilization does not caused by the parent. No, it is something of importance that caused that. The farmer or the person that put the seed in the earth does not germinate that seed. There is something. This something, I don't care what form you would take, there is something. So if I am under a lot of, in the early stages of life, if we can only learn of this, that we are here for a purpose, and to our children, you did not awake on your own. There is something that caused you to be awake. Because to recognize that the phone rings up, they are on the videos, they're on, no. Somewhere along the line, we have to recognize who we are, what we are, and it comes from the mother, the father, and into the social gathering from the assistance in many ways in the various areas, government, one way or the other. Our children has to be considered in the respect of who they are. Basis, education, act must be more or less projected to children of the importance and who they are. It not as a child is no, it's important somewhere. Some form of education has to be recommended, has to be projected to children of who they are. And if that is done, then children would grow up with an understanding the importance of something within them that would cause them to move from A to B to C. They must have that education of who they are. Important. We must find a way of helping the children to learn of the importance of who they are. Somewhere, somehow, I do not have the answer, but I have the expectation that something would happen to teach children, because that's the next growth, that's the next world, that's the next supporting factor. What are we going to do about our children? They are important. We have to find a way to let them know they're important. And with this, it would more or less promote a better generation.
Well said. There's many names being given to the various different generations, whether it be Generation X or even, the Millennium generation. Interestingly enough, this network is called Millennium, TV, 24-hour news. But with that being said, and hearing what you're saying, the issue of identity came up. And identity and how we identify is so important. In the Holy Quran of Mecca, it says that Allah created us in tribes and nation. So when one know their tribe and when one know their nation, they see their connection, and there's a responsibility that comes back to the mother and father, because they are the ones that propagate the very system of thought, that faith in the child. So you're 100% correct. The first school is the mother and father, but even more so the mother, because the mother in that period, the 9 months within the womb, she needs to be conscious of who she is. So I agree with you wholeheartedly that they need to know who they are. So a child, the sperm itself doesn't animate itself. How does the sperm itself know where to go? If man did not have certain urge even to eat, would man eat? Because we see within society, there's a sluggishness, there's a laziness. Literally, the heart itself, it beats automatically. Who had the divine intelligence, or who had the intelligence to allow the heart to beat, to have circulation of the entire blood through the entire system? So the same way the physical body is a system, the universal creator has put systems in place. We do not have planets knocking into planets. There's an order in life. So because there's an order in life, you said at one point you even work as a policeman. So we need what? If someone go out of order, there needs to be enforcement to that order to respect the system. So well put, we do agree with you that ones need to be educated. But what if ones now, again, kind of like we said, they don't want to be educated? Where is the allowance now? To what degree do we correct those ones who needs to be corrected from a universal standpoint? Do we correct them, or there's a law already in place to correct them? What's your take on that?
Well, I say this to you. It's a better society than past society. We have a lot of activities, promotion, education, and in many areas. But here the point, some areas are deprived of a lot of opportunity to educate. And I'm trusting that our system of government, central, local, state, would look more into the process of helping. I'm not dealing with religion. I'm dealing with helping to maintain people from their intelligence, their wisdom, their understanding, help to support a people whereby they can function more in the process of order. We need order. And if order could be in some way taught or allow people to use or to appreciate orders, we would have a better community. They need that support. They need that support.
Well, in regard to that, I see where morality plays a very big part. Morality and ethics. Because if one in government does not have morality and ethics, there's so much room for misuse. So the ultimate government was a divine aspect within. It's called your conscience. If you don't have a conscience to know that however I treat you, it comes back to me in some form. It's like the farmer. You sow a seed, orange seed, you expect an orange plant. You plant a corn plant, etc. In the same way, if one has ill intent towards his brother or sister, you put into that same energy something that's going to be reflected back to you as unwholesome. So morality plays a huge part in one being conscious of that creator that you spoke about. So not religion as in dogmatic religion, something being forced on anyone, but from the perspective of, are you connected to the circle of life? Did you break the circle? Even though we might be in physical body, we breathe the same oxygen. And that oxygen needs to circulate and go into the lungs. We breathe one thing in, we breathe another thing out. And the outer aspect, the trees benefit from what we breathe out. So we're in an environment where the creator has now made an environment where everyone benefit. And to affect that harmony that's already in place, that divine balance, that equilibrium, it really comes back to some sense of morality and ethics within society. Because if that doesn't function, that's what the order really is. It's a divine order. Be like that behavior, that character. It's character building. So if one is not going to be building mentally and to be a better human being, the human described the being, the behavior. Be and have. What you now have within you, you can now utilize, just like physical bread. I can now share with you a better way. My brother, did you see from this perspective? So even here at Universal Pathways, our hope is that our viewers will hear another perspective. So continue to just build upon that, my good brother, as in the perspective that we now have from a moral, ethical accountability to each other.
I say this further. No military, no monetary would survive. This is a world of divine happening. And I'm trusting that our leaders, who I pray for and trust that in some way their intent, we go back to intent, would act responsibly. Because here's the question: how much is enough? How much is enough? That what you have, you can help others to make a better society, and that society would prevail, and in the grace and the beauty and the wonder of life, you would be the chosen one. Beautiful. How much is enough when you have so much? What is your intent of the next life? Somewhere along the line, you can lend a hand. You can lend a hand. This is a wonderful country. This is a beautiful country. This is a majestic country. And if we can only appreciate what we have, that we can help others to be a better people, the glory of life will continue to bless this country and others if they follow the same.
Not just this country, but the entire world as well. And with that thought, my good brother, you mentioned the chosen and the chosen one. We're going to touch on that a little bit when we get back from this quick break as we get ready to wrap up our show here. This is Universal Pathways. I'm your host, Brother Curtis Douglas Ill. We'll go to a break. See you right back in a minute.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen to America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
2-3 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Welcome back to Universal Pathways. I'm your host, Curtis Douglas Ill, and I'm with Mr. Charles Jarvis. He spoke recently about chosen. It is our hope that in everything that we're discussing today, that you'll see the ability that in life, we choose how to live every day. That as sentient beings, we have the ability to think. We have the ability to reason. We have the ability to then understand and then will. It is said that a Muslim is one who submits to the will of the truth that he or she now knows, to be able to be one with the creator that has him or her here on the planet, to be of what service to each other. So with that, I just want to give our guest today, Mr. Charles Jarvis, I really want to thank you for being here today.
Yes.
Any closing thought for our listening audience, or anything that you would want to share based on what you've now learned from a universal standpoint?
I say this. I would like to show my appreciation for being here in America. I thank America on the opportunity to think logically, rationally, spiritually. I trust our leaders would have the ability to learn that they are under the influence of a force that they can help to make this country more viable, more useful, more purposeful, more right. They have that ability. If they can only understand it and apply that, the world would catch on. The world would follow. We have the ability to lead, and we must lead spiritually, physically, mentally. We must not kick against the prick, as the Bible says. If we can only learn this, we have the ability to make this country and the world a better place. I pray to the Creator to continue to guide our leaders in this country and the world today, that we can make this world a better place by the grace of life.
Well said. With that being said, to you, our listening audience, I trust that some of the truths that we spoke about today make sense to you, that you remain open and be able to exercise your free will to choose. Whatever is good, utilize it in your life and allow your neighbors to benefit as well, so we can be better citizens of this planet as human beings. So again, I'd like to thank our guest, Mr. Charles Jarvis, for being here with you and myself and the Millennium TV News family and network. So with that being said, I trust we'll meet here again next Saturday, same hour. This is your host, Curtis Douglas Ill, signing off right here at Universal Pathways. Peace and love.